Let's get across the market open now. Jonathan Takadena joining us from MPC Markets. Jonathan, happy Monday to you. Interesting to see where we finished on Friday, particularly on Wall Street. Very much risk on. Investors perhaps searching for that bargain.
So it is just a little bounce in a fairly large correction. I did the numbers overnight. From top to bottom, S&P's down 11, NASDAQ 13, XJO just a touch over 10. So that's a correction territory now. And we have seen a little bounce here. I did see signs last week of the XJO trying to find a low there because it actually led the way on the decline. And we saw this last few Fridays, our market just sold off into the close. But what we saw was just a bit of buying and then a stronger close on the Friday. So that gave me some confidence that maybe we've got a short-term low here. And the US finding some support on our Friday night, Saturday, shows that there could be a short-term bounce here.
What are you looking for in terms of sentiment to see how that's changing at the moment?
Yeah, so I've had a look back in the last few years. We haven't had a 4-week decline since 2022. And basically, we've had a great rally since, I think, October 23 was when the low was in. And it's been one-way traffic in. Every time that the market has corrected, I think it was the yen carry trade in last December, what we saw was there was immediate buying and the VIX dropped sharply. So what we need to do is that the VIX didn't actually have that massive spike up where it got into the 30s. What it did was it kind of slowly crept higher, got to about 26, and now it's pulled back to about the 22 level. So the way I see things that if the VIX drops tonight and it's back in the teens, or even the low 20s, I think it's definitely a risk-on rally. And the other thing to look out for is, so I know cryptos, some people think it's a store of value or a risk-on, a risk-off play. I actually think it's more of a risk-on sentiment play. Obviously, what Trump says about it, makes a massive difference. But if Bitcoin can get past this sort of 82 to 83 level and get into the mid-90s again, I think that's a good sign that there's a bit of risk on and there's a bit of buying back into these markets.
Given where it is at the moment, that would be a sizable bounce indeed. But as you say, perhaps broadly reflecting very much.
Yeah, but the thing is with Bitcoin, you could put on 10,000 or drop 10,000 quite quickly.
Well, certainly seen that.
Well, the thing was, it was just last weekend. Trump talked about a few things, or was it 2 weeks ago? Basically talked about some of the altcoins, and we had that surge from the low 80s into the mid 90s, and then that it just kept traders took an opportunity to actually sell into it. So what we see now is that we're back near those lows again in the low 80s. If you can find some support here and get even to the mid 90s again, I think then that's a good sign that there's actually some risk money looking for a home here.
All right, so you're looking for a significant shift in sentiment to stick. That's on Wall Street. Is that also then likely to apply locally?
Yeah, absolutely. So the sector that's actually been hit the hardest have been the banks and the technology stocks. So keep an eye on those sectors. There's actual there's a financial sector code, and there's also IT sector. Keep an eye on those two charts. If the market does find some support, you've got to expect those two to recover somewhat. But what I'm actually looking at is companies that have been rallying despite this move. They pull back slightly, and it doesn't look, the charts don't look that bad. So things like Sims Metals, kind of surprising, with the tariff talk out there, but it's actually looking like it's going to break out to new highs. So that's one of those gems that I'm like, okay, the overall market's falling, but this one's actually rallying to new highs. So keep an eye on that. If the market finds some support here, I think that one can keep going.
Yeah, and Jonathan, late last year, the anticipated move was that rotation out of the banks into the resources. Mm-hmm. Is that now underway?
So what we've seen is rotation out of the banks for sure.
Yeah.
But we haven't seen that much love into the resource sector. I mean, like, apart from gold miners, the rest of the resource sector is still quite laggard. So I think what we're going to see is what we've seen in the gold stocks, gold spot and gold stocks. So gold has been the leader in all of the commodities so far. Okay, and what we've seen is that the gold price has just kept on rallying. It's been a nice, strong uptrend all the way till near 3,000. But the gold miners just took so long to actually, show some life. But now we're actually seeing some life in the gold miners. Now we're actually seeing moves in silver and seeing moves in copper. And I think what you'll see is those prices have to kind of break out and actually bust new highs. Then you'll see the actual miners actually start to play catch up. So yes, we have seen signs of this rotation happening, but I think the resources investors, you've been patient so far. I think you might have to be a little bit more patient. I don't think it's going to be a quick, sharp move.
Why have we seen that significant lag between the commodity price and those gold stocks?
I think it's what you got to remember is that it's a popularity contest with investing. So the easiest way to explain why the gold prices have actually been rallying is it's just the central banks. They're not out there to buy companies. They want the actual physical metal, and so that's all they've been buying. And then as a derivative, you want to sort of invest in the miners, but it's just taken so long. And then now we've seen that the gold price has kind of just sort of lagged here, or sort of just hasn't actually busted out to past 3,000. But I remember putting a chart here that the gold miners are actually printing more free cash flow than the tech sector at the moment. Yeah. So what's happened now is that people actually caught on and said, okay, these gold miners are actually printing a lot of money, a lot of gold.
Yeah.
Now it's time to actually start rotating there.
Well, I mean, clearly we've seen that reflected in the larger miners, the Northern Stars, the Evolutions, the Newmonts. But you've been looking sort of further down that list. You've spoken about this before, Catalyst and Gorilla.
Yep.
Which have obviously now doing well. And what, you're adding polymetals to that?
Yeah, so polymetals, it's actually a silver play. It's just here in New South Wales. So that's one that I was forced to do a little bit of homework when I was on the call. I hadn't actually talked about that stock before or researched it before. But what was good was when I was on the call, they just did a cap raise at 80 cents and the thing was trading mid-60s. So I was like, okay, just keep an eye on it. It showed some signs of life, so I then put out a buy rec to all my subscribers in the high 60s, and it's back above 80 now. So that was just one of those ones where fortuitous timing, like I was forced to do some homework and I was like, okay, this is actually a good opportunity here. So interesting, so silver, with the silver price starting to rise here, that's one to keep an eye on.